Stop, don't scroll. I need 30 seconds of your time, and I promise you will not regret it. Right now, somewhere in your kitchen, there is a jar of cinnamon, maybe some cloves, probably a little container of something your mother or your grandmother always added to the pot. And when you asked her why, she looked at you like you had lost your mind and said, "Baby, that's just how you make it." You accepted that answer. Of course you did. She was Grandma. You didn't question Grandma. But here's what she didn't tell you, and what I'm about to. Those spices were never just about flavor. That woman was running an absolute sanctuary of wellness right out of her kitchen. She was providing her family with foundational vitality every single day. And the beautiful, hilarious, slightly mind-blowing truth is that modern science has spent millions of dollars in laboratory research to confirm that she was completely, absolutely, 100% right. Today, we are going through 15 spices that have been sitting on your shelf this whole time, some of them probably for years. And we are finally going to talk about what they actually do. Not what the recipe card says, what Grandma knew. Hit that subscribe button and like this video, because by the time we get to number 7, you are going to want to call someone. 1. Cinnamon, the one you already have, already use, and completely underestimate. How many of you have cinnamon in your kitchen right now? Of course you do. Everyone does. You probably haven't thought twice about it in years. It's just there. It goes in the oatmeal, it goes in the apple pie, it goes on the toast. Basic, ordinary, unremarkable, or so you thought. Your grandmother stirred cinnamon into warm milk on cold nights. She added it to porridge every single winter morning, without fail. She put it in things you wouldn't expect, savory dishes, stews, rice. If you asked her why, she would say it warmed the body from the inside, which you probably heard as just a sweet old-fashioned thing to say. She was describing, in plain everyday language, what researchers now call baseline metabolic support. Ceylon cinnamon, the real kind, the true cinnamon, not the cheaper casheria version that fills most grocery store shelves, has been explored extensively in botanical research for its ability to support natural blood sugar balance and maintain healthy, normal glucose pathways. The active compounds in cinnamon help the body utilize its own metabolic systems more effectively. Scientists have published papers on this. Wellness companies have put it in capsules and sold it on specialized shelves for $25 a bottle. Grandma put it in your oatmeal every single morning, without a prescription, without a copay, without a single downside except that the house smelled absolutely wonderful. Now, one important thing, and Grandma probably knew this too, even if she never said it out loud. There's a major difference between Ceylon cinnamon and regular cassia cinnamon. Ceylon is the gentler, more traditional variety. Cassia is perfectly fine for occasional baking, but it contains higher levels of cumin, which in very large daily amounts can be demanding on the liver. So if you're going to start using cinnamon intentionally, as Grandma did, look for Ceylon. It's worth finding. She didn't use advanced biological words for what she was doing. She just knew it helped. And it turns out it absolutely did. 2. Cloves, the original soothing asset that's been hiding in your spice rack. Now raise your hand if you've ever dealt with deep, throbbing oral discomfort. Go ahead, nobody's watching. We've all been there. That horrible pulsing 3 a.m. Why is this happening to me tension that makes you genuinely miserable? Your grandmother would not have panicked. She would have walked calmly to her spice cabinet, pulled out a whole clove, pressed it directly against the sensitive area, and told you to hold it there. And you would have done it because, again, Grandma. And within a few minutes, something remarkable would have happened. The baseline discomfort would have started to ease. Not because she was magic, not because of the power of suggestion, because of eugenol. Eugenol is the active compound in cloves, and it is a natural, time-tested soothing agent and tissue comforter used in traditional practices for centuries. Here is the part that will make you do a double take. Eugenol is still, right now, today, a highly valued structural component in specialized oral care formulas used in professional clinics all over the world. The soothing compounds your professional dabs on your tissue, there's a very good chance it contains eugenol, which comes from cloves, which your grandmother kept in a little jar right next to the nutmeg. She was running an absolute wellness center right out of her kitchen cabinet, and that's not even all cloves can do. Grandma also dropped them whole into stews, teas, and warm drinks. not just for that deep, rich warmth they add to flavor, but because clove tea has long been used as a traditional remedy for settling the stomach, easing bloating, and comforting the digestive tract. The very same properties that soothe a sensitive mouth also help calm a tense digestive system. One tiny little spice, carrying an enormous amount of quiet, ancient, completely validated power. 3. Cardamom, the queen of spices and the digestive remedy royalty has known about for 4,000 years. If you grew up in a South Asian, Middle Eastern, East African, or Caribbean household, you already know cardamom like you know the sound of your grandmother's voice. It was in the tea. It was in the rice. It was in the coffee that the adults drank, and the children were not allowed to touch. And if cardamom wasn't part of your upbringing, welcome. You are about to meet one of the most magnificent spices on the planet. In the households where cardamom ruled, Grandma didn't just cook with it. She chewed the pods whole after meals. Not just as a natural breath freshener, although yes, it works phenomenally for that, far better than anything that comes in a little plastic tin, but because she knew from generations of knowledge that cardamom settled the stomach. It relieved temporary bloating. It helped ease digestive heaviness after a massive family meal in a way that felt almost immediate. She was right on every single count. Cardamom has documented carminative properties, meaning it naturally supports the body in preventing and relieving internal gas. It contains highly protective antimicrobial properties, supporting healthy digestion through multiple pathways that modern researchers have fully confirmed. Traditional wellness systems have used it specifically for digestive comfort for over 4,000 years. 4,000 years. Let that sit for a moment. Cleopatra reportedly prized cardamom for its therapeutic aromatic properties. Roman traders considered it precious enough to transport across continents. Medieval scholars recommended it for digestive clarity and freshness, and your grandmother just kept it in the pantry like it was nothing, because to her, it was just Tuesday. The next time you finish a big meal and you feel that familiar internal heaviness skip the synthetic chews. Chew a cardamom pod. Grandma's been right about this since long before the Roman Empire. 4. Fenugreek, the traditional spice passed down in whispers. This one is a little different, because fenugreek wasn't the kind of spice that got explained casually at the dinner table. It was passed quietly, grandma to mother to daughter, in kitchens, in conversations that happened when the room grew quiet, in recipes that seemed like simple food, but were actually something much more. In historical households across many cultures, fenugreek was a primary cornerstone of women's wellness. Grandma brewed it as a bitter tea, and yes, it is genuinely bitter. Nobody is going to lie to you about that, to comfort the body during monthly cycles. She cooked with it to support healthy milk production when a new mother was nursing and needed natural balance. She added it to food specifically for metabolic support, blood sugar harmony, and the kind of natural hormonal comfort that nobody had an advanced clinical word for yet, but every grandmother seemed to know intuitively. Botanical science has since looked closely at these traditions. Research confirms fenugreek's impressive relationship with natural blood sugar regulation and insulin activity. Studies show it beautifully supports milk supply in nursing mothers, and its active compounds have demonstrated excellent tissue soothing and balancing properties. It is now sold as a popular supplement on health food shelves worldwide. But here's what I want you to truly sit with. Grandmothers across completely different cultures, on completely different continents, who never spoke the same language and never met each other, all arrived at the exact same conclusion about fenugreek, independently, through generations of observation and deep family care. That's not coincidence, that's real knowledge. Hard-earned, carefully tended, quietly passed down. The fact that it now has a modern laboratory study attached to it doesn't make Grandma's instinct more valid. It was always valid. The study just finally caught up. 5. Bay leaf, the great mystery that turns out to have a very good answer. Okay, we need to talk about the bay leaf, because the bay leaf is the spice world's greatest unsolved mystery, at least from a child's perspective. Every grandmother used it, every single one. It went into the soup. It went into the stew. It went into the rice, the beans, and the slow-cooked everything. And then, right before serving, it came out, just taken out and discarded, like it was never there. And if you asked, and you know you asked, Grandma would say, you just add it. It makes it better. That was the whole explanation. You just add it. It just makes it better. Move along, child. The food is getting cold. So you accepted it as some kind of culinary ritual, a food superstition passed down through time, a thing grandmothers did because grandmothers before them did it without any real reason behind it. There was a profound biological reason behind it. Bay leaves contain highly active organic compounds, including linalool, parthenolide, and eugenol, which you will recognize from our cloves. These compounds have demonstrated significant tissue-soothing, protective, and digestive properties in modern research. Furthermore, botanical studies have found that compounds in bay leaf show highly promising support for maintaining healthy metabolic functions and natural insulin pathways. Traditional medicine across the globe has always utilized bay leaf specifically as an advanced digestive aid. Grandma couldn't name the specific molecules. She didn't need to. She knew from a lifetime of observation that when the bay leaf went into the pot, something shifted. The food was better. The family felt better. The digestion was easier. She trusted what generations before her had figured out, and she was absolutely correct to do so. The mystery always had a real answer. 6. Cumin. The ancient resource that's been in your spice rack this whole time, cumin has been discovered resting in ancient Egyptian royal tombs. Cumin appears in classical botanical texts. Cumin was traded as a high-value asset along the historic Silk Road, and it remains an absolute fixture across Mexican, Indian, and North African cooking. It is genuinely difficult to imagine those cuisines without it. And in every single one of those traditions, Grandma added it to beans. Now, there are people who think that's just about flavor. And yes, cumin gives beans that deep, warm, slightly smoky earthiness that makes them taste incredible. But that's not the only reason. Grandma knew, and generations of grandmothers before her knew, that cumin and beans belong together for a very practical, physical reason. Beans can cause digestive bloating. Cumin helps prevent it. Cumin is one of the most powerful natural carminatives we know of, meaning it beautifully relieves gas and digestive discomfort. It actively stimulates the production of vital digestive enzymes, helping the body break down food far more efficiently. When you add cumin to beans, you're not just seasoning, you're making the meal easier for your body to process. Your grandmother knew this. She didn't use the word carminative. She just knew that the cumin went in and the bellyache didn't happen. Cumin tea was her traditional remedy for stomach discomfort, digestive tension, and slow digestion after a heavy meal. She'd brew it right in the kitchen. No fanfare, no explanation, just the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was doing, because she'd seen it work her entire life. 7. Black pepper, the spice that makes every other botanical work better. Black pepper is so ordinary we've practically stopped seeing it. It's on every table. It's in every shaker. It's the thing you reach for automatically before you've even tasted the food. Salt and pepper, just always there, together. Inseparable, unremarkable. But here is the thing about black pepper that will genuinely rearrange how you see your spice rack, your grandmother, and that little shaker on your table. Black pepper doesn't just add flavor. Black pepper makes other wellness assets work. The active compound in black pepper is called piperine, and piperine has a remarkable, thoroughly documented ability to exponentially increase the bioavailability of other nutrients and compounds, meaning it helps your body actually absorb and utilize what you're putting into it. The most famous example is turmeric. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, is notoriously difficult for the body to absorb on its own. But when you combine it with a tiny pinch of black pepper, absorption increases by up to 2,000%. Not 20, not 200, 2,000%. Now, think about your grandmother's kitchen. Think about every dish where she added both turmeric and black pepper. Think about the golden milk she made at night, the warm milk with turmeric and spices that she gave to people when they weren't feeling well. Did she add black pepper to it? There's a very good chance she did. She had no idea what piperine was. She had never heard of bioavailability. But she knew from her mother, who knew from her mother, that those two spices belonged together, that the combination worked in a way that neither one did alone. Researchers spent decades figuring out the chemistry of why that was true. Grandma just seasoned the food, hiding the most extraordinary science right in the most ordinary pairing. 5 plants in, and the garden is already looking like a sanctuary. If this video is delivering something valuable, now is the time to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Backyard Wellness Gardening publishes every week, covering what grows in the garden and what it heals in the body. The next few entries are where it gets truly extraordinary. Let's keep going. 8. Nutmeg, the soothing spice Grandma used with pinpoint precision. Nutmeg is warm and sweet, it smells like the holidays, and it goes beautifully into everything from winter baking to savory sauces. You probably haven't thought about it as anything other than a baking ingredient your entire life. But Grandma knew something about nutmeg that she may not have told you directly. She just showed you every night in one specific ritual. A pinch, just a pinch, in warm milk at bedtime. That was the traditional sleep remedy. Not a big spoonful, not a heavy dose, just a pinch. And if you were a child who couldn't settle, or an adult whose mind wouldn't quiet down, Grandma made you that warm milk with that tiny pinch of nutmeg and sent you to bed. And somehow, it worked flawlessly. Nutmeg contains an organic compound called myristicin, along with other active components that have heavily documented mild calming and anti-anxiety properties. In small amounts, nutmeg genuinely does promote relaxation and support deep, natural sleep rhythms. Traditional systems across the globe have used nutmeg specifically for evening, rest, and nervous tension for centuries. Now here is where Grandma's precision was actually quite brilliant. The word pinch was not casual. It was deliberate, because nutmeg in very large, excessive amounts can overstimulate the system. The therapeutic baseline is tiny, and Grandma, without ever reading a textbook, was using exactly the right amount. Just a pinch, just enough, no more. That pinch of nutmeg was pure expertise. She knew the exact dose because generations before her had worked it out through careful observation. She handed it down to you in the form of a comforting evening routine. 9. Coriander seed. The traditional asset reached for when the body needed balance. Most people are highly familiar with cilantro, that bright polarizing herb that people either love completely or think tastes like soap. But the seeds of that exact same plant, coriander seeds, are an entirely different experience. Warm, slightly citrusy, earthy, and exceptionally gentle. And in traditional kitchens, coriander seed was a trusted asset that Grandma reached for in very specific situations. When someone in the house felt overheated, sluggish, or physically uncomfortable, she made warm coriander tea. When digestion felt off and things were tense in the stomach, she made coriander tea. Coriander has what traditional systems call cooling properties, meaning it helps the body soothe internal heat and manage localized tissue stress. Modern research has confirmed its natural diuretic effects, meaning it beautifully supports the kidneys in managing fluid balance. It is highly protective, antimicrobial, and carminative. In fact, historical European scholars included it in early official texts specifically for comforting digestive complaints. Your grandmother's kitchen had a complete catalog of wellness resources. She just organized it by jar size instead of alphabetical order. 10. Marjoram, the herb of happiness that Grandma cooked with on the heavy days. Marjoram is the quieter, gentler cousin of oregano. Sweeter, softer, and far more delicate. Not the loud star of the dish, more like the background warmth that you notice when it's there and miss deeply when it's not. But here's something you probably didn't know about marjoram. Ancient Greek and Roman herbalists called it the herb of happiness. Not the herb of flavor, the herb of happiness. They planted it in their gardens specifically for its calming, mood-lifting properties. They used it traditionally during times of grief, worry, and what they called melancholy, what we might describe today as emotional exhaustion or a stressed nervous system. Now think about this. Think back to whether Grandma ever seemed to reach for marjoram on particular kinds of the heavy days, the days when the news was hard or the household was carrying a collective weight. Did the food that day happen to feature a little more marjoram? Maybe that's a coincidence. Or maybe Grandma was practicing an art passed down through time. The understanding that food is not just fuel, and choosing what goes into a meal with intention is itself a form of care. She didn't use modern psychological terms. She called it dinner, but she chose marjoram on the days the house needed it most. And if you think that's just a poetic story, modern science shows marjoram contains active compounds with demonstrated mild calming and soothing activity. The herb of happiness wasn't just a poetic name, it was a description. 11. Tarragon. The soothing power hiding in premium culinary traditions tarragon has a bit of an image problem. It's most famous for being a premium highlight in French cooking and fancy restaurants, a spice that sounds far more intimidating than it actually is. Your grandmother, particularly if she had roots in Eastern European or French traditions, would have viewed that narrow reputation with amusement, because she knew tarragon had an entirely separate life as a practical wellness asset. When oral or dental discomfort arrived and a professional visit was delayed, she did with tarragon what we talked about with cloves. She pressed a fresh leaf directly against the sensitive gum area and held it there, because tarragon has mild, natural analgesic and numbing properties. It takes the edge off localized tissue tension, enough to get comfortably through the night. She also brewed it as a warm tea for restless evening routines and digestive relaxation. Tarragon contains active organic compounds, including estragol, which have demonstrated mild, calming, and sedative properties in botanical research. Traditional European medicine relied on it heavily for supporting sleep and managing minor localized discomfort. It was practical wellness dressed in a sophisticated flavor profile. 12. Winter savory, the bean herb that 3 continents discovered independently. The German language has a wonderfully direct word for winter savory, Bohnenkraut. It translates straightforwardly as the bean herb, because that is exactly what grandmothers in Germany, France, Bulgaria, and across the Balkan countries called it. The one herb you absolutely must put in the beans. It wasn't an optional suggestion. It was a culinary necessity. It went into the pot every single time. Here is why. Savory is one of the absolute most powerful natural carminatives in existence. It is spectacular at minimizing bloating, reducing gas, and supporting the digestive tract as it processes complex legumes that are notoriously difficult for the body to break down. It also carries robust, natural protective properties and has been used as a superior digestive tonic across traditional global wellness systems for centuries. Here's the thing that genuinely moves me about winter savory. Grandmothers across completely different countries, who never compared notes and never shared a kitchen, all figured out the exact same rule. Beans plus this specific herb equals digestive peace. That convergence is not a coincidence. That is hard-won, completely correct knowledge passed down through generations of observation. Bohnenkraut. It always belonged in the pot. 13. Lovage, the classic asset that hides profound full-body comfort. Lovage is the ghost of the traditional kitchen garden. It used to be everywhere, in old European cottage gardens and early American homesteads, filling the growing spaces that families relied upon before modern convenience arrived. It looks like a giant version of celery and carries a wonderfully deep, matching aromatic flavor. And then, during the mid-20th century, it simply faded from popular view as home kitchen gardens shrank. But it didn't stop working. Your great-grandmother knew lovage as a premier botanical for fluid balance. She utilized it specifically to support urinary tract wellness, manage water retention, and comfort the joints when structural stiffness or swelling arrived. She incorporated it into daily meals and brewed it as a robust tea, reaching for it whenever the body needed natural help clearing and draining excess fluid volume. Modern research has fully confirmed lovage's natural diuretic and tissue-soothing properties. It has been highlighted for centuries in classical herbal texts for its brilliant relationship with kidney health and joint comfort. We might have stopped growing it as a mainstream crop, but our bodies never stopped needing what its compounds deliver. The magnificent news is that lovage is incredibly easy to plant this June, and it returns as a hardy perennial year after year. 14. Angelica, the winter sentinel and historical guardian of vitality. Angelica is truly dramatic. It grows tall and magnificent, sometimes reaching 6 feet or more, with massive, umbrella-shaped flower heads that demand total attention in the garden. It looks profoundly medicinal, which is entirely appropriate. In traditional Northern European households, Angelica was viewed as the ultimate winter sentinel. Grandma grew it specifically to prepare for the cold months. The roots were dried and brewed into a rich tea to support the body through seasonal respiratory fatigue, low physical energy, and the deep exhaustion that long winters can bring. Every single part of the plant had a purpose. During major historical health challenges in Europe, Angelica root was considered so precious for its protective, cleansing properties that it was referred to as a sacred gift of vitality. Monks cultivated it heavily within monastery gardens as a primary shield for their communities. Was it a magical cure? No. But its natural protective and immune-supporting compounds are entirely real, and those early scholars were completely right to reach for the best resource the earth provided. Your grandmother's use of Angelica was the direct continuation of a lineage stretching back over 600 years. She knew that when winter arrived and energy drained away, Angelica provided a profound upward shift in vitality. The plant hasn't changed. The science hasn't changed. 15. Elecampane, the deep lung root for ultimate respiratory comfort. We are ending with this one because it deserves to be the asset you carry forward with you. Elecampane is not a common spice you will find on a standard grocery store rack. It is a tall, gorgeous, slightly wild perennial with striking yellow flowers that look like miniature sunflowers and roots that release an incredible aroma of violets and camphor. If you have roots in traditional Appalachian or European lineages, there is a fantastic chance your great-grandmother kept this plant close, because elecampane was the ultimate lung herb. It was the one resource families reached for when a seasonal cough had lingered far too long, when chest congestion felt heavy and deep, and when the system needed profound respiratory relaxation. She would make a decoction, a slow, strong simmer of the root, to deliver immediate, deep comfort. Modern chemistry has explored elecampane root and found it packed with inulin, a celebrated prebiotic fiber, alongside allantoilactone, a specialized plant compound with heavily documented protective and tissue-soothing properties. Research has beautifully validated its traditional relationship with respiratory health, showing how it supports the lungs, encourages the clearing of heavy congestion, and relaxes the chest pathways. It has served human vitality across multiple continents for over 2,000 years. When modern synthetic options arrived, elecampane stepped into the background. But there is something incredibly grounding about a plant that has earned 2,000 years of human trust simply because it works. Passed down through a long chain of caretakers who protected their families with natural knowledge. Grandma never forgot elecampane, and now neither will you. Here's what I want you to truly take away from all of this. Your grandmother was not practicing superstition. She was practicing a meticulous, observation-based, generation-tested form of wellness that happened to live in the kitchen instead of a clinic. And here's the part that is genuinely beautiful. She was doing it while making you feel completely loved. Every meal was wellness and care at the exact same time. The science has caught up now. The papers are fully published. But the knowledge was always right there, in her hands, in her kitchen, and in her quiet confidence. She trusted you to carry it forward too. So go check your spice rack. Look at what you have, because I promise you, you have far more power in those jars than you think. And now you know why it matters. If this video brought back a memory of someone's kitchen, drop her name in the comments below. Tell me one thing she cooked that always made everything feel better. Subscribe to Backyard Wellness Gardening and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Next week, we are going even deeper into the forgotten treasures of the soil. The garden is waiting. Let's grow it together.